My sister broke into my warehouse to sell my classic car collection for her wedding. Now she has a criminal record and I have no family. Hey friends. Got a sec? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit subscribe. It's quick for you, but it really means a lot to us. Alright, let's dive into today's story. Original post. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I need perspective from people who aren't emotionally invested in my family drama. I'm James, 27M, and I'm dealing with a situation that's tearing my family apart, or maybe just tearing me away from them. For context, I've been passionate about classic cars since I was 14. My grandfather, who passed away 5 years ago, was a mechanic who restored vintage vehicles as a hobby. He taught me everything: how to identify genuine parts, assess frames for rust damage, evaluate engines, and most importantly, how to spot undervalued classics that could be restored. When he died, he left me his 1967 Mustang Fastback and $50,000 specifically earmarked for James to build his collection. Over the past 5 years, I've turned that inheritance into something I'm genuinely proud of. I work as a software engineer, make good money, and I've invested nearly every spare dollar into building my collection. Currently, I own 7 classic cars: the Mustang for my grandfather, a 1970 Plymouth Barracuda, a 1969 Dodge Charger, a 1965 Shelby Cobra replica, still valuable, a 1971 Chevrolet Chevelle SS, a 1968 Camaro Z28, and a 1973 Porsche 911 Carrera RS Tribute. Combined, these cars are worth approximately $380,000, though I've probably only invested about $200,000 total including purchase prices and restoration costs. I keep them in a climate-controlled warehouse I rent on the outskirts of town. I spend most weekends there, either working on restorations or maintaining them. It's not just a hobby, it's my meditation, my social life, I'm part of several classic car clubs, and honestly, my retirement plan. These cars appreciate in value, especially with the quality of restoration I've put into them. My sister Emily, 23F, got engaged 6 months ago to her boyfriend Tyler, 24M. They've been together for 2 years, and honestly, he seems like a decent guy. Emily just graduated from college with a degree in marketing, and Tyler works in construction. They're young, just starting out, and I understand money is tight. The problem started 3 months ago when Emily announced she wanted a dream wedding at this historic estate venue about 2 hours from our hometown. When she revealed the budget, $75,000, I nearly choked on my coffee. The venue alone costs $15,000, she wants a designer dress that's $8,000, flowers are quoted at $10,000, photography and videography another $8,000, and the list goes on. She saved about $5,000, Tyler's family contributed $10,000, and my parents, Robert, 55M, and Patricia, 53F, offered $15,000, which is genuinely generous considering my dad is a high school teacher and my mom works part-time at a library. That leaves a $45,000 gap, which is where I apparently come in. The first conversation happened over Sunday dinner at my parents' house. Emily was showing us her Pinterest boards and venue photos when she casually said, "So James, I was thinking about the car collection. You could sell maybe 2 of them? That would cover the rest of the wedding easily, and you'd still have 5 left." I honestly thought she was joking. When I realized she wasn't, I carefully explained that these aren't just cars sitting in a garage. They're investments, some still being restored, and each one has been carefully chosen as part of a curated collection. Selling even one would disrupt my long-term plans. My mother immediately jumped in with, "James, honey, family supports family. Your sister only gets married once, and your hobby can wait. Those cars will always be there." "They literally won't," I explained. "The market for these specific models is hot right now. If I sell and try to rebuy later, I'll pay significantly more, if I can find them at all in the same condition." My father, usually the reasonable one, said, "Son, what's more important, some old cars or your sister's happiness?" Emily started crying, saying I obviously didn't love her enough to help make her wedding special. Tyler sat there awkwardly saying nothing. The dinner ended with me leaving early and my mom texting me that I had ruined a lovely evening with selfishness. Since then, the pressure has been relentless. My mom calls daily, alternating between guilt trips, grandfather would be ashamed you value money over family, and appeals to emotion. Emily has dreamed of this since she was little. My dad sends long emails about family values and sacrifice. Emily posts passive-aggressive memes on Facebook about, "When you find out who really supports you." I've offered alternatives. I told Emily I'd give her $5,000 as a wedding gift. That's substantial for a brother, and it's cash I can spare without touching the cars. She said it was insulting, and that if I really cared, I'd sell just the Porsche, which would cover everything. The Porsche is actually my most valuable piece at roughly $85,000 and climbing. My parents have now escalated to saying I'm sick for being so obsessed with material possessions. They've brought up every family favor they've ever done for me, including paying for my college, which I've thanked them for repeatedly and have actually paid back $30,000 of the $40,000 they spent. They've even suggested I'm single because I care more about cars than people, which is both hurtful and untrue. I'm single by choice right now, focusing on my career and, yes, my passion. The extended family is now involved. My aunts and uncles are divided. Some think I should step up as the big brother, others think Emily's expectations are unrealistic. My cousins mostly side with me, but they're staying quiet to avoid the drama. What really bothers me is the narrative that's being built. I'm not Scrooge hoarding wealth while my family suffers. I live modestly in a one-bedroom apartment, drive a 2015 Honda Civic daily, and save aggressively. The cars aren't just things to me, they represent years of knowledge, work, connections in the car community, and honestly, my grandfather's legacy. Each restoration is hundreds of hours of labor I've done myself. Moreover, why is Emily entitled to a $75,000 wedding? Most people get married for far less. She could have a beautiful wedding for $30,000, which is already covered by the existing contributions. But she wants the Instagram-worthy affair, and somehow I'm the villain for not bankrupting my passion to fund it. I feel like I'm going crazy. Am I really being unreasonable here? Should family come before personal investments? I've worked hard for what I have, and I don't understand why I should sacrifice years of work for one day of someone else's party, even if that someone is my sister. Update 1, 2 weeks later. I thought things couldn't get worse after my original post, but I severely underestimated my family's determination. Thank you to everyone who responded. Your perspectives helped me feel less insane, though some of you warned me about things I didn't take seriously enough at the time. After I continued refusing to sell any cars, my family went silent for about a week. No calls, no texts, no guilt trips. I foolishly thought they were finally accepting my decision. I even started to relax, spending last weekend at a car show where my Chevelle won second place in its class. I posted photos on Instagram, proud of the recognition. That was apparently the wrong move. Emily commented, "Must be nice to have money for trophies while your family struggles." It got worse from there. On Tuesday, I got a call from Michael, a friend from my car club, asking if I was okay and why I was selling the Plymouth Barracuda. I had no idea what he was talking about until he sent me a screenshot from Facebook Marketplace. There was MY car, with photos clearly taken in MY warehouse, listed for $52,000, about $8,000 under market value for a quick sale. The seller? Emily. I immediately called her, my hands shaking with rage. She answered casually, like nothing was wrong. "Oh, you saw the listing? Good. I knew you'd be stubborn, so I'm handling it myself. Mom and Dad agree it's for the best." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You broke into my warehouse." "I didn't break in," she said, her tone defensive but entitled. "Mom had the spare key you gave her for emergencies. This is an emergency. My wedding is in 4 months and venues need deposits." My mother. I'd given her a spare key 3 years ago when I had surgery and needed someone to check on the cars while I recovered. I never thought. I trusted her. "Emily, this is theft. You can't sell something you don't own." "It's not theft when it's family," she replied, and I could hear my mother's words coming out of her mouth. "Besides, you were going to inherit everything from Mom and Dad anyway. Consider this an advance on my inheritance." That's when I learned the full scope of their plan. My parents had apparently told Emily that since I got grandfather's inheritance and would likely get their house someday, as the older child who's better with finances, she deserved the value of the cars now for her special day. They'd constructed this entire justification for why taking my property was actually fair. I told her to take the listing down immediately or I'd call the police. She laughed, actually laughed, and said, "Go ahead. Tell them your sister is selling cars you refuse to share. See how that goes." I hung up and drove straight to my warehouse. Sure enough, the lock had been opened with the spare key. Everything looked normal at first glance, but then I noticed small things. Dust disturbed on some of the covers, the Barracuda's hood slightly ajar, some of my documentation folders moved. They'd been through everything. I called a locksmith immediately and had the locks changed that day. Then I called a lawyer friend who told me exactly what I already knew. This was attempted theft and fraud, family or not. But he also warned me about the nuclear option. Pressing charges would absolutely destroy my family relationships, probably permanently. While I was at the warehouse dealing with the locks, I got a text from Tyler, Emily's fiancé. "Hey man, just wanted you to know I had no idea about the listing. I told Emily this isn't right. I'm sorry. At least someone in this mess has a conscience." That evening, my parents showed up at my apartment. I saw them on the doorbell camera but didn't answer. They stood there for 20 minutes, with my mom periodically saying to the camera, "James, we know you're in there. We need to discuss this as a family. You're being ridiculous." They finally left, but not before my dad said to the camera, "Your grandfather would be ashamed of how you're treating your sister." That hurt more than anything else, because grandfather was the one who taught me to value hard work and to protect what you've built. He would never have stood for this. The Facebook listing was taken down after I reported it as fraudulent, but not before several people from the car community saw it and reached out to me. Word is spreading that there's family drama around my collection, which is embarrassing and potentially damaging to my reputation in these circles. Emily has since posted on social media about how money reveals people's true character and how she's learning who really loves her. The comments are split between people supporting her and others calling her entitled. It's become a public spectacle. I've installed security cameras at the warehouse and changed all my passwords. I'm also documenting everything in case I need legal protection. But I feel like I'm at war with my own family, and I never wanted this. The wedding is in 4 months. I don't even know if I'm still invited, and honestly, I don't know if I'd go anyway. Update 2, 1 month later. I need to update everyone because the situation has escalated beyond anything I imagined possible. I'm writing this from a hotel room because I can't stay at my apartment right now, not because I was kicked out, but because I need space to think. After my last update, I thought the new locks and security cameras would solve the problem. I was wrong. My family just got more creative. 2 weeks after the failed Facebook Marketplace incident, I started getting calls from classic car dealers. 3 different dealers contacted me saying they'd been approached by a Patricia, claiming to be selling cars on behalf of her son who was deployed overseas. My mother was pretending I was in the military and unable to handle the sales myself. One dealer, David from Classic Auto Brokers, was immediately suspicious because he knows me personally. We'd done business before. He called me directly and said, "James, your mom is here with some woman claiming you're deployed and need to liquidate your collection urgently." I knew something was off. I asked him to stall them and rushed over. By the time I arrived, my mother and Emily had left, but David showed me security footage. They had photos of my cars, taken during their break-in, forged documentation with my signature, and a whole story about how I was stationed overseas and needed money for medical bills. This wasn't just family pressure anymore. This was criminal fraud. I finally did what I should have done from the beginning. I called the police. The officer who took my report seemed sympathetic but warned me that family disputes over property rarely result in prosecution. Still, having a police report on file felt necessary. That night, all hell broke loose. My father called me screaming, actually screaming, that I'd betrayed the family by involving law enforcement. He said I was dead to him if I didn't drop the report immediately. My mother sent me a long text saying I'd chosen possessions over people and that she was mourning the son she thought she raised. But here's where it gets worse. Emily, perhaps realizing the legal route wouldn't work, tried a different approach. She contacted my insurance company, pretending to be me. She knows my social security number from when I helped her with tax documents, and tried to cancel my classic car insurance policy. If she'd succeeded, one accident or incident could have financially ruined me. Fortunately, the insurance company called me to verify the cancellation, and I explained the situation. They put additional security measures on my account. Then she went after my reputation. She created a fake Instagram account and started messaging people in the classic car community, claiming I was a fraud who didn't actually own the cars, that they were all heavily financed, and that I was about to declare bankruptcy. She even suggested I'd stolen parts from other collectors. Several people reached out to me confused, and one show organizer actually called to say I was temporarily suspended from an upcoming event pending verification of ownership. I had to provide documentation proving I owned everything outright and had never been accused of theft. The damage to my reputation was real but thankfully containable. The turning point came last week. I arrived at my warehouse to find the door open. Not broken, opened with a key. My new locks were intact, but someone had called a locksmith claiming to be the property owner locked out. The locksmith, thinking he was helping, had drilled the lock. Inside, the Porsche was gone. I immediately called 911. The police arrived, took my statement, and reviewed the security footage. It clearly showed Emily and a man I didn't recognize, not Tyler, at 3 a.m. with the locksmith. Then them driving away in MY Porsche. The police found the car later that day at a detail shop, being prepped for sale. Emily had actually found a buyer willing to pay cash under the table, $70,000 for a car worth $85,000. The buyer, when questioned by police, had emails from Emily proving she'd represented herself as the owner. This time, Emily was arrested. The call from my mother was unlike anything I've ever experienced. She wasn't angry anymore, she was hysterical. How could you do this to your sister? She's in jail. Over a CR. This will ruin her life. Is this what you wanted? I asked her, what about her literally stealing from me? What about the fraud, the lies, the attempt to destroy my reputation? Her response? She was desperate. You drove her to this by being selfish. My father texted me 2 words, "You're disowned." Tyler, Emily's fiancé, called me that evening. He was crying. He'd broken up with her, saying he couldn't marry someone capable of this. He admitted she'd been lying to him too, saying I'd agreed to sell the cars but was being difficult about the price. When he found out about the arrest and the full story, he was done. Emily was released on bail, paid by my parents, who took out a loan. She's facing charges of grand theft auto, fraud, and identity theft. The prosecutor says she'll likely get probation and community service if she pleads guilty, but she'll have a criminal record. The family is completely fractured. My aunts and uncles are horrified but trying to stay neutral. My cousins have reached out privately to say they support me. My parents haven't spoken to me except to say I'm no longer welcome at any family gatherings. The wedding, obviously, is off. The venue, vendors, and dress deposits, about $20,000 total, are all lost. My parents are now in debt from both the lost deposits and bail money. Emily posted on Facebook that I chose cars over family and ruined her life over money. The post went viral in our town. I've received death threats from her friends who only know her version. I've had to hire a lawyer to handle the criminal case and a potential civil suit to recover damages. I've also had to pay for therapy because the stress has been overwhelming. All 7 cars are now in a different storage facility that only I know about. I've installed GPS trackers on each one. I've changed all my personal documents, passwords, and have frozen my credit. I'm looking into a restraining order. I still can't believe it came to this. All because I wouldn't sell my property for a party. Final update, 3 months later. This will be my last update on this situation. I need to close this chapter of my life, even though the story doesn't have the resolution I'd hoped for. Emily pled guilty to attempted grand theft and fraud charges. She received 2 years probation, 200 hours of community service, and has to pay me $15,000 in restitution for damages and legal fees. The judge was clear that she was getting leniency only because this was her first offense and because of the family dynamic involved. She stood in court and cried, saying I'd destroyed her life over possessions. Even facing criminal consequences, she couldn't accept responsibility. The real tragedy is what happened next. While Emily was dealing with the legal system, my parents did something I never saw coming. They sold their house, the home I grew up in, to pay for Emily's legal defense and to start fresh, somewhere I wouldn't be able to harass them. They moved 2 states away without telling me, leaving only a letter with a neighbor to give to me. The letter was brutal. In it, my mother wrote that I was no longer her son, and that she couldn't forgive me for choosing money over blood. My father added a short note saying grandfather would be spinning in his grave, knowing I'd sent my sister to jail. They said they were starting over with Emily, their only child who understands family. The house sale happened so fast I didn't even know until it was done. They sold it under market value for a quick cash sale, probably lost $50,000 in equity just to get away from me faster. Emily went with them after her sentencing. She posts on social media about her fresh start and how she's learning who really matters. She never mentions the criminal record that will follow her forever, or the fiancé who left, or the thousands in restitution she's supposed to pay me, which I'll never see. My lawyer says it's not worth pursuing across state lines for that amount. Tyler reached out last month. He's in therapy dealing with the guilt of almost marrying someone he didn't really know. He said Emily had been lying about money throughout their relationship, secret credit cards, debts she'd hidden, expensive purchases she'd made while claiming to save for the wedding. The car theft was just the final revelation of who she really was. The extended family is split. Half think I went too far involving police. The other half say Emily and my parents went insane. Family reunions are now impossible. Thanksgiving and Christmas were spent alone. My aunts try to keep in touch, but it's strained. Everyone's walking on eggshells, afraid to take sides fully. The car community rallied around me, which has been my only real support. Several collectors who heard the story reached out with similar tales of family members feeling entitled to their collections. One older gentleman told me, "Never apologize for protecting what you've built. Family that truly loves you would never ask you to destroy your dreams for their wants." But here's the hardest part. I've started questioning everything. Was I too rigid? Should I have just sold one car to keep the peace? Would grandfather really be proud of me standing my ground, or would he be heartbroken that his death indirectly led to our family's destruction? I see families in public, parents with their adult children, siblings laughing together, and I feel this hollow ache. I won that battle but lost my entire family. My cars are safe in their new facility, but I sometimes sit there among them and wonder if they were worth it. My therapist says I'm grieving not just the family I lost, but the family I thought I had. She says they showed me who they really were, people who would steal, lie, and commit crimes rather than accept a no. She reminds me that I didn't choose cars over family. They chose a wedding over respect for my property and autonomy. Still, knowing you're right doesn't make you feel less alone. I've thrown myself into the cars more than ever. I recently acquired a 1969 Boss 429 Mustang that needs a full restoration. It's a 2-year project at least. Sometimes when I'm working on it, covered in grease, lost in the mechanical meditation of restoration, I can forget that my phone never rings with family anymore. The Porsche that Emily tried to steal has appreciated another $5,000 in value. I've had offers to buy it for $90,000 now. I won't sell it. It's become something more than just an investment. It's a reminder that I chose my own path, for better or worse. People ask if I regret anything. The truth is complex. I don't regret protecting my property. I don't regret refusing to enable Emily's entitlement. I don't regret involving the law when they committed crimes. But I regret that it came to this. I regret that my family couldn't respect boundaries. I regret that my sister values material things so much she'd destroy her relationship with her brother and commit crimes for them, all while accusing me of the same materialistic obsession. Most of all, I regret that grandfather's legacy, meant to bring me joy and connection to his memory, became the weapon that tore our family apart. The wedding that started all this never happened. The $75,000 dream became a nightmare that cost everyone far more than money. Emily has a criminal record. My parents lost their home equity and their son. I lost my family. Tyler lost his fiancée. Everyone lost. There's no happy ending here, no redemption arc where we all apologize and reunite. This is real life, where some breaks can't be fixed, some words can't be unsaid, and some actions can't be undone. But I'm building something new. I'm dating someone now, Jennifer, who I met at a car show. She understands that the cars aren't just machines to me, they're meditation, art, history, and yes, grandfather's legacy. She has her own passions she'd never sacrifice for anyone's demands. We understand each other. I'm also volunteering teaching automotive restoration to at-risk youth. Grandfather would like that, passing on knowledge, helping kids find purpose in craftsmanship. One kid, Nathan, reminds me of myself at that age, eager to learn everything. Maybe this is how I honor grandfather's memory now, not just by preserving cars, but by creating new enthusiasts who understand that what we build with our own hands has value beyond money. To those who said I should have just given in, I understand your perspective. Family peace has value. But I believe boundaries have value too. Self-respect has value. The right to say no has value. If family can't respect those things, then what kind of family are they really? To those who supported my decision, thank you. Your messages kept me sane when I doubted everything. You reminded me that standing up for yourself isn't selfish when others are trying to take what you've built. To anyone facing similar pressure, document everything, secure your property, and remember that family isn't a license to steal. Real family respects your choices, even when they disagree. Real family doesn't require you to light yourself on fire to keep them warm. The 7 cars remain. The family doesn't. I'm learning to be okay with that trade, even if it's not the outcome I wanted. Some prices are too high to pay, even for family. Especially when that family shows you that their love comes with a price tag attached. Thank you all for following this story. I hope none of you ever face something similar. But if you do, know that choosing yourself isn't wrong, even when everyone says it is. Sometimes the only way to win is to refuse to play their game, even if it means playing alone. The cars and I will be fine. We're survivors, all of us, restored from damage, rebuilt stronger, worth more than anyone initially believed. Just like I'm learning to be.